welcome to another episode of Adaptive Adjustments. I'm your host, Antonica, registered mental nurse, certified mediator, and founder of the youth empowerment organization, Children in Action. For today's episode, we're going to be looking at the effects of drug use on adolescents and signs that you parents can identify in the event of your child starting using. So today we have with us none other than Mr. Garth St. Clair. Right, he's the founder of Eye on Dependency, and he has his own radio station on I-95.5 FM every Sunday, yeah?
Radio program, yes.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you know, I brought you here today to interview you for us to speak a bit about drug use. Right? I know that you have a long history in being an advocate, right? And helping a lot of persons. You do a lot of counseling, you have TV shows going on, you have different programs internationally as well as local, right? And I found it fit to have you on board with us. So thanks for coming.
Well, anything I can do to help, you know, in this field, I'm always willing to.
Okay, so you know, right now we have the issue of children, well, adolescents, abusing drugs. You know, and it has been taking a really negative toll on them in schools, academically, you know, also in their daily functioning. So I want you to share a bit with the live audience about how does drugs impact the human being, whether it be the adult or the adolescents.
Well, it depends. I mean, there are a lot of factors, right? It doesn't have a blueprint for everyone. It depends on upbringing, geographical location, you know, that foundation. I could talk about my experiences, you know, because of growing up in a dysfunctional environment. When I say dysfunctional home, you know, mother and father started fighting each other. Then he left, and then she took over. And what I would say, it was a lot of misdirected anger coming from her, me being the eldest. And so after a while, I felt like I was a black sheep in the family. Okay. So I grew up with a lot of low self-esteem, and because, you know, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and because of her to please her, to do better, but it never came, you know what I mean? And there's homes like that where mothers use a lot of misdirected anger to because, well, they and the, as they describe them, child father or children father split up, and they can't get him to cooperate with her to bring money and time, and so it would have that times when she would be in a zone where she would take it out on one of the children and not even understanding that's what she's doing. Okay. And you know, words very powerful. You know, you're stupid just like your father. Your dog is just like your father. Your water is just like your father. And these type of things. After a while, you create an environment like that for a child. They seek love on the outside. Most of the time. So that's how some children end up in gangs. I buried myself in sports and culture, even from school. Okay. I'm the eldest of three. And so it was, I always felt like I didn't belong, you know. Okay. So and then I decided to join the military, and I did, but I went with baggage. I had low self-esteem. So it was easy to influence me. I was studying to do better at my career, and I was offered crack cocaine to use. No, I could have said no, right there and then. But that low self-esteem, you know, this older soul are paying attention to me, and I said, okay, if this will keep me up in the night, sure. And I tried it, and not knowing who I was, and the nature of me wanting to do everything right, crack cocaine is a thing you can't do right at all. But I just wanted to get that right, because after the first hit, I just didn't understand what was happening. Okay. So it depends on your environment. It depends on how you grow up. And then there's a flip side to that. Like, for instance, we spoke to a young lady last week who, she perfect environment. Parents provided everything for her. And she met a boyfriend and saw him using crack, and she decided to try it. So there must be a balance. There must be a balance of not being too difficult with your child, and then on the next side not being too free and giving with your child. You must strike a balance in between there, where you could tighten the reins at times, but not too tight. And then the things that you say and the confidence that you put in your child, that too plays a very important part.
Okay, so basically you're saying that one's self-confidence plays an active role in whether or not they use drugs.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It helps to stand up to that peer, that bully, or that peer who say, hey, you're lying in a group, you don't like to drink, you don't smoke, but then there's always somebody in that group who tell you, if you can't drink it, you wear it, or but try this, you like it, or try this, it'll cool your head. And you must have that child, you must develop that confidence in your child, or build that confidence enough to say, no, I don't need that. I don't need drugs to have a good time, I don't need drugs to study, I don't need drugs to cope. And because it has to do with coping skills too, the child must have coping skills as well. Because when pressure is turned on, and we have a lot of them in the military and defense armed and the protective service, they focus their mind on that training just to get that kit. But once they get that kit and they go out in the lines and that pressure is turned on, they use a next crutch.
Right.
They turn to a next crutch. Then there's DNA as well. Chances are if my grandfather or great-grandfather was an alcoholic, it can pass on from generation to generation.
Yes, yes. Indeed.
And it could skip one generation and catch up with the next. You could have a house with 5 children and it catch one and all the rest will be good,
Yeah.
So it depends on hereditary as well. Now we encourage parents to speak with children about their past, or there's a thing we don't like to do in most families is to speak about if your grandfather was had mental ill health, or grandmother, because most of the time now when we speak with people, that's one of the questions we ask, because the child starts using marijuana and they suffer psychotic episodes. They experience psychotic episodes. So then you ask the question, well, did grandfather or grandmother have any mental ill health on mother or father's side? And most of the time they would say yes. Well, the father he went to St. Anne's and stuff like that. So it's important now to ask your children to have that conversation with your child about their past and their great grandparents, and all of that. If there's an issue there, you need to let your child know and let them know, listen, you're not like the ordinary child. You cannot afford to take that first drink or take that first smoke, because it will affect you in a different way from the ordinary child.
Yes. So I heard you mention some key points. Parents, I want to emphasize what was just mentioned. He spoke about confidence, building confidence in your child, encouraging your child to have that self-worth, bring them up knowing that they are worth more than just an influence. Also, you spoke about hereditary. It can be something that could be passed down from generation to generation, and sometimes drug use in your past ancestral history may not do well with you. So basically that's what you were saying, hereditary influence on the child and knowing who you are as an individual.
And if a mother smokes while she's pregnant or drinks while she's pregnant, chances are it can affect the fetus. Remember, that fetus drinks, eats, everything you do too,
Yeah.
So, and there are a lot of women who did that while pregnant, and now their children are experiencing the same, the after effects of it.
So mothers need to be careful what they do while they are pregnant, because it can influence the upbringing of the child eventually.
Yes, there's that alcohol syndrome that a child can suffer, if the mother abuses alcohol while pregnant.
And then that could mature into harder drugs.
Well, yeah, because you see, then there is this factor of when abuse starts. When let's say a person would get high with 1 beer.
Yes.
After a while, it goes to 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And the same feeling that you would have gotten with 1 beer, now you need 5 beers to get that one feeling. And that's and then it from that it graduates to addiction, dependency, then addiction. So that means the person, when some people start off, just like I did, I just wanted a smoke when I got back from work in the evening. that graduated to morning, mid-morning, afternoon, till it went to round the clock.
One is too much and 1,000 is never enough.
Correct.
Yeah. So can you tell us what are some of the signs that parents can identify the use of drugs within their children?
Right. So habits. It will start by, normally you have a child that would come home and be happy and jolly and say, Mommy, how was the day? And well, what went on in school today? Once that changes, the person becomes more reclusive. Sometimes they will come home and go straight to their room.
A bit withdrawn.
Yeah. Their eating habits will change. So it will go from increase in appetite or decrease in appetite. It depends on which drug they use. So
right.
if it's marijuana, the appetite will increase.
Munchies.
Yes, and the snack all the time, they eat a lot more. They start eat a lot more.
Yes.
Then if it starts to decrease, then it may be class A drugs like crack cocaine, because crack cocaine suppresses the appetite somewhat.
What about these new pills? They are it's really rampant in the schools. Yes, these are pills. These are pills. Parents, you need to be on the lookout for those because they're really pretty. Some of them have some really nice little gummy bear thingies on them.
Yeah.
What about those?
Well, those now, mind you, zesting is a behavior.
Right.
The pill is not a zesta pill, but it's a stimulant. So like LSD, ecstasy, and all of these pills.
Yes.
But it's the way people behave when they take them.
Right.
That's why it's that behavior is associated with the name of the pill, zesta pill. But really, it's not. The pill is not a zesta pill. It's psychedelic drugs such as LSD, ecstasy, and all of these things. And these are hallucinogens.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
As I said, it would affect one person in one way and other in a different way. Like you and I could go to a party and somebody just hand you a pill, you pop that, and within maybe an hour or less, depends on your metabolic rate and the ingestion and all of that, you start to see the lights bright and colorful, the music sounds louder, it sounds closer, and you get to enjoy. It amplifies the enjoyment. What happens though is that after that is done, there's a crash. It comes
and a low.
Right now.
Right.
The person who takes it with me, they would that was weekend. We had a good time, right? And they're done with that. They look forward to the next weekend or maybe next month or whatever. But the other person will wake up the next day and could not get that taste and that feeling out of their minds. Right. And they will want to experience that again as soon as possible.
Okay.
So they will start by sending a message, hey girl, will you get that thing last night? Where that man get that thing from? We could get, and that is how the conversation will start. And so it depends again on your state of mind and who you are and how you deal with these, because I always tell people you cannot unpop a pill.
True. Once
you
it gets down there and the enzymes hit it, that's it.
Now, then there's the marijuana brownies and cookies that parents have to be careful about too.
Yes.
Remember, marijuana is decriminalized now. So, and there are a number of people who taken the opportunity to make brownies and cookies to give their children to go and sell. In school, brownies and cookies operate a different way to a joint. Brownies and cookies is just like you're eating. You remember the eating, it has to go through a process too as well.
Yes.
The digestion, the absorption, and all of that. You smoke a joint or you pop a pill, that goes,
a different mechanism of action taking place. Yeah.
Right. Now, some people don't know that they will take a bite of a brownie and not feel anything after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and take a next bite and still not feel anything, and then eat the whole brownie. And after half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, that is when, and that is close to getting an overdose,
Okay.
Because now you just ate the equivalent maybe of 2 joints, 2 strong joints.
with added components such as the butter and the sugar and the cocoa and all these different
on top
things.
of that, because they might be in a party.
Yes,
and people have a habit of handing them out in parties and not telling people, remember, these things don't come with instructions. Just tell you try this, you like it. And then parents have to also look out for medicine abuse. There is a product called lean, where children now from primary school started using cough syrup and Sprite mixed together with Skittles and other sweets.
Okay.
The scientists describe that as liquid heroin.
Lean.
So, lean, yeah, purple drunk. This is a drink that was made famous by rapper Lil Wayne.
Right. Right. I know the codeine and
there you go, and the XM.
Right. Yeah.
Parents now have to imagine now parents have to keep an eye on their medicine cabinet, because there are pills that you leave after, you know, I mean, sometimes you get sick, you buy tablets, you buy medicine, you don't use all. After a couple of doses, you start to feel fine, you leave the rest in the medicine cabinet. Right. Children now are going to the medicine cabinet and
mixing their concoctions.
And taking these, if a security guard stops a child going to school with a bottle of cough syrup, all the child has to still have the cold. And you can't doubt them. But that together with the Sprite it comes up with the product called lean. There are pharmacists who contacted us and saying that children are coming into the drugstore and buying cough syrup 2 and 3 bottles at a time. Parents have to look out for that. So it's a change in habits, it's a change in eating habits, it's a change in friends.
What about aggression?
I'll just get into that. Your house now will all of a sudden become a battle zone. Right. Because that same docile child that you had all the time, that you could have sat and or corrected, all of a sudden now find, but you only on me, you only jump in me, because you find in the room more often.
Yes, they were drawn.
They were drawn, the door locked now, because before you get in the room, they have to knock.
And they have to hide everything.
Right.
And, parents, so they'll beware.
Yes, it's a lot of children, they will become more aggressive. They lie a lot. They will make up stuff that they haven't in school so you could get money from you. They would even steal money from you. But you have to notice the change in friends too.
Yes, the association changes.
That nice little girl or boy that they used to come home with and call, all of a sudden now is somebody else with their pants falling down. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to stigmatize people, but, you know, there's a look that comes with a change in attitude and change in outlook on life. And, you know, so you find now that the person hanging with what we would describe as questionable looking folks. You know, when the mother asks you, who is that? Oh, that's just a partner, you know.
Because of the accessibility.
Right. So it's no longer Miss Fabian child. Now is this boy who you don't know, this girl who you don't know. They're coming back in car now instead of walking home with their friends now. Some car dropping them off. They're either going out late, just all of a sudden like 9:30. Why I just going out and come back? I just go and come back. Or they're coming home late and going straight to their room, avoiding eye contact with you. And you know, procrastinating a lot. And then there's their hygiene. They started not concentrate now on how they look, how they smell.
Okay.
You know, that favorite sneakers, you know what their favorite sneakers, all of a sudden start to get
mud on it. They don't have time to clean it.
Right.
You know,
and then they start dropping in grades. So you just have to look for physical and behavioral changes. And that it might be growing up too, right? But you must send up a red flag enough for you to say, hey, what is really going on here?
Yeah.
And then you now will call and have a conversation. You know, you don't just go accusatory one time.
Of course not.
Look, you know, sweetheart, I'm noticing certain things, and I think it's time for us to have a chat. And that way you broach now. I always tell parents the magic in dealing with this is if you really convicted, if you're really convinced that something is wrong. Because it will be somebody might tell you, hey, look, I saw your son hanging out with somebody, or I saw your son going somewhere, be careful. Now, instead of you tell the person, not my child, mind your business. Instead of you doing that, you know, at least you may start now asking some questions. And if they insist and you're still concerned, all you have to do is ask the child, okay, I trust you, but I want to trust you more. Just give me some urine, let's do a urinalysis.
Okay.
And watch the reaction. If your child is not doing drugs, then they'll be happy to give you that urine to do the test. They'll be more than happy because they love you and they want you to trust them.
Yes.
But anytime they start to stamp up and cry and, oh, so you don't trust me, and I tell you I'm using drugs, and go in the room and slam the door.
Yeah.
And you're trying to talk to them and they still insist they don't want to give you the urine.
They're doing it.
It's a red flag.
So what about if the child feels perturbed by the fact that you don't trust them? How do parents now deal with that?
Okay, as I said before, the conversation, you must have a conversation.
Right.
And you pick the time. You see, you don't wait until something happens and you say, and besides, look, I want some urine tomorrow, let me go and do a drug test. You don't do it like that.
No, you're not gonna get it, right, yeah.
So you pick the time when that happy time is, they have that, like, you bring home their favorite, they like fast food.
Right.
So you pass and get some fast food and,
right.
Hey, look, I picked this up for you, and some mostly virtual stuff happening home, right? So you pick up some ice cream.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And you put them and all they sit down and I have a little concern, boy. You know daddy love you, mommy loves you, and we want the best for you. And I have some plans for you in the future. I ain't telling you yet, but we have some things put aside that we're planning for you. But I have a concern. Is it possible just to ease our mind?
Right.
Don't tell them, well, Miss Lovey saw you going in a place, you ain't going there. Or somebody tell me. Or nothing pushes a person back than somebody tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think you cannot handle it, then talk to the teacher. Have a conversation with the teacher without them knowing. Right. There are guidance officers in school who are more skilled in dealing with these issues. So you could probably, if you think you will botch it, then put it in the hands of the guidance counselor at the school and have a meeting, you know. But you letting them know, listen, it's not that we don't trust you. We don't trust people who want to hurt you.
True.
And there are people who may offer you under the guise of their friend, or if you're having problems studying, they may tell you, use this, you could study. We want to take in front before that happens. So it's not that we don't trust you at all. We love you, and the only way to settle our mind is if you could do this for us.
Yeah. So that would be step one in actually ascertaining whether or not the child is using, right? But what happens if you do realize that the child is using? How do parents now go forward in dealing with their child?
Yeah, that is the tricky part. That's the tricky part. That has been something we've been dealing with for quite a while, because not only is it tricky, there is no residential programs for teenagers. No rehab would take a teenager if they're under 18. That's right. That I find is crazy, but it obtains here in Trinidad and Tobago. It's as I say, it's tricky because the child would know, one, must admit.
Right, acceptance is the first stage.
Acceptance, right? And then, but apart from that, if the child doesn't accept that they have a problem, right, there's absolutely nothing you could do really. I'm being honest with you, I know people tend to think this is a magic wand. Okay, my son using drugs, what do I do? Does he admit he has a problem? Is he admitting to the problem? No. Can you do a drug test with the child? Well, if he allow me, if he give me the urine, what do they do? What they do now is try and get professional counseling for themselves to prepare them for the future of what it can escalate to. It can escalate to. Well, because it could snowball into larger issues.
Right. So that's what I was now getting at, because let's say that the drug use is affecting the child. Their grades are dropping, they become aggressive, because drug use can even lead to depression or even suicide, right? So let's say that the child is now having issues adapting in school and, their grades are dropping, things like that. As parents, I think it comes right back to the point of having a trusting relationship with your child, because you need to now be able to sit down with this child and go through the pros and cons of the drug use. How is this affecting you? Does it have a positive outlook in the future? How did it affect your past ancestors? Things like that. And it's really up to the child at the end of the day to really man up and say, okay, here's what I really do have a problem, as you rightfully said. And I want to change the consequences of my drug use.
That's a very good point. And going forward, I think what all parents should do is have that conversation up front with their child, even before you suspect they start using drugs.
Yes.
Son, daughter, we know what's going on out there. We know we could bring you up in all the good ways possible, teach you all the right things, give you a good foundation. But remember, there's always that one person out there who could get inside your child's head.
Yes, a role model or something, yeah.
There's always that one person who your child could be fascinated with in school or university and want to follow them because they've seen this person achieving but they're using drugs. And so you have to let your child know up front, listen, once that starts happening with you, come and speak with us.
Yeah.
Reach out to us for help. Don't tell anybody else or don't, hide it from us. At least we giving you that confidence that we will love you the same.
Yeah.
We would understand, because it is not like we kept your mouth home and somebody give you a mouth out there and you put it on and smoke drugs.
Right.
It's not like that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Understand that your child going out there and they are exposed.
Yeah.
You need to prepare them from home. But just in case somebody breaks through that
barrier,
security that you develop in them,
yes,
you must give them that confidence that they could come back to you and say, I went out last night, yes, and something happened. What happened? I tried this. I took a smoke and I don't like how I feel now. And at least give the child that confidence to come but when they do, don't turn the house upside down and threaten to put them out and you better stop now, and
yes,
it's too late for that. That enemy already took out the sentry, the security, and get inside. You now have to find a way to help them fight that enemy that's inside of them.
Yeah.
And don't judge them, don't pull them down, don't beat them down. It already happened. Because when you do, what you'll do now is push them back more, and they will continue to use more to deal with what you're doing to them.
Yeah.
The way you responded.
Yeah, to cope with
And
what's the pressure from home now.
They will withdraw more from you.
Yeah.
So it don't make no sense. The drugs out there, marijuana decriminalized, so there are people who, there are parents who are more liberal than you.
Right.
Right? And so their peers, there are some of them who have drugs available to them.
Yes.
You now have to look at life and look at the world a different way now. It's already out there. They didn't go looking for it. And if they do, then you need to understand that there's peer pressure and give your child the confidence that you're not going to, pell them through the window when they tell you they take their first drink or take their first smoke.
Yeah. So parents, this is a topic we can go whole afternoon speaking on, but I just want to recap what was mentioned today. There are some causative factors that would contribute towards drug use in adolescents. Such will include your behavior towards the child, your attitude towards the child. You try to keep the child uplifted. You try to keep them feeling good about themselves, build their confidence as parents. You also need to have a trusting relationship with your child, educate them about past relatives, how drug use may have affected them, right? You also help them to understand that in the event of using drugs, that they can come to you for help. you know, and you don't just go publicizing what happened to them. You don't try to shame them in any way, but instead you try to weigh the pros and cons of the impact of the drug use on the child, right? You try to help them to understand that drug use, you know, it depletes your brain cells, it decreases your academic abilities, it can also cause depression and suicide, you know, it changes your behavior patterns. Also, parents, you want to look for signs such as decreased or increased appetite. You also want to look at withdrawal from the child. You want to look at issues such as change in friendships, change in behavior patterns, you know, and you also want to keep a lookout for the Zessa pills and the brownies and the brownies, the Zessa pills, the codeine, the cough syrups with the Sprites.
And
parents,
also paraphernalia too, like you see wrapping paper sometimes, you're washing your child clothes, you see some little pieces of foil, wrapping paper.
Yes, the wrapping paper, the wrappers as it is called it. Right, guys? So parents, there are a lot of signs that you can identify. However, in the event of identifying these signs, you don't want to just accuse the child. You want to sit down with the child, have a trusting relationship, have a trusting conversation, have them open up to you. If you're unable to do it, you get someone that they trust, right, that will not go out there and just blaspheme their name, you know, that would sit in confidence with them, and you help to work on the better solution, you know, to the problem.
One thing I was telling you, you must never, ever, ever tell your child, if I catch you using drugs, or somebody tell me using drugs, I'm going to kill you. You never say that to your child.
Parents.
Ever. You know, because right away, when they go out there and they're doing it now, the first thing they will tell their friend, me and mother, when you know I'm doing this, you kill me. Because you already tell the child that.
And then it sparks an extra thing in you to do it as well.
Yeah.
You know, because that's a joke for you and your friends.
Not only that, it's excitement.
Yeah, that's a thrill.
Right, and then you know the child will try to cover it up. When they come, you see they have more mints than normal. And you know, so you never tell a child, if somebody tell me they see you using drugs or I catch you using drugs, I'll kill you. Anytime you go down that road, that's it. You start bad already.
Well, parents, there you have it. None other than Mr. Garth St. Clair, Eye on Dependency. I mean, this was a real impactful video. Parents, look out for the signs. Be that parent that motivates your child in the event of an occurrence of drug use. You know, be there for them. Don't push them away, as you rightfully said. Don't threaten them, right? So, yeah, I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you for being on my show today. It was a pleasure having you with us. You know, and parents, don't forget to check out our Facebook page at Adaptive Adjustments with Auntie Nika at email address at Adaptive Adjustments with Auntie Nika at Outlook.com. Also our Facebook page, Children's in Action, Youth Empowerment Group, also Adaptive Adjustments with Auntie Nika, and Eye on Dependency as well. I'm your host, Auntie Nika. See you on our next episode.